2. And we are back. Even though it ain't live, we're live. It is episode 40 of the Lyrical Ones. I am thankful, grateful, humbled enough to appreciate this moment that I can have this moment. My name is Cineo, for those that have been with us and those that can't join us, right? Eventually, you're going to come and find out. Cineo, and I am joined with Affluent. Affluent, how are you doing this evening?
Doing well, brother. Thank you for asking.
I love how Zoom want to act real tough. As soon,
Uh, it's we're back on Zoom for a moment, but I want to think, since we're not broadcasting live, Twitter, uh, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Um, but today we're just recording, and our show for you today. We just want to, talk about a few things and just process the world as we see it as artists, as creatives, and then as guess multicultural citizens of America, you know, going through different things because of our ethnicity, going through different things because of our vocation and our careers, and also our tribe, our community, our relationship with people, and how we interact and how we show up in community, and how people are showing up in community with us. Uh, so you getting that vaccine?
keep it 100, 100. I'm waiting right now. I'm going to wait until July 8th when they have full disclosure of all the information concerning the vaccine. I am in a household where others are getting it. I'm still maintaining social distancing practices and protocol, but I want that extra level of, you know, kind of just assurance, right? I want to get all the information I can just to have it accessible for me to be able to look through it, right? Right. Before this, we were talking about the COVID relief bill, and I was going through it just to see the details, right? Because it's like now that this is a thing, I want to know what's up. And so when it comes to the vaccine, I've never, I've never been the one to buy something first day, at least not since September 9th, 1999. That was the last time I bought something first day, and I was like, I'm getting this first day. Okay, maybe I'm fronting. There was Death Stranding and there was Shenmue 3, but that's different. Okay, that was the real requirement of knowing whether or not it's going to work. Right, is not my expectation on, you know, it's here, it's available. It's has it been refined, right? And to me, the COVID, vaccine, as much as I appreciate its existence, I've never been first in line to want to jump in and do something. I'm more of the wait and see, right? If I have the means to sit back and watch, that's what I'm gonna do. And in this situation, I learned that there will be a full disclosure July 8th, 2021, as far as I know, as far as I'm aware. And I'm like, okay, that gives me enough time. Now that doesn't speak to, I really have been like, I'm like, man, I might as well just get it over with because there's opportunities that have presented itself that require in-person participation. And that's the thing that's like, as
Right.
much as I have these concerns, as much as I have these feelings or these thoughts or these trauma barriers, right? Because that's really what it is. It's trauma that I'm holding on to that I haven't processed that prevents me from being trustworthy of this. The one thing I think about is like, if I just get it and I got it, then I'm, as far as I know, I'm good, right? Because there's always that, like, not for everyone, but for some, there's that air of caution of being like, as far as I know, I'm good. So, that's where I'm sitting with it. How about you? Where you sitting at it?
I am definitely on the fence. Um, in one aspect, if it enables me to travel abroad, uh, especially to Asian countries where I'm, not a citizen, I would love, I would, be more inclined to line up. I have family members that have received, family and friends who have received the first dose, and everything seems to be going well. And they got appointments coming up as early as next week for their second dose, and things seem to be working just fine. Heard some intense incidences of blood pressure dropping, and sore arms and dizziness. But they monitor everybody, and they don't let folks out until everything is working in fully operational order as best as they can observe. And yeah, it would be nice just to be done with it. And I don't know if it would change much of my lifestyle right now outside of traveling, right? It's like the facilities, like maybe it'll give me some peace of mind to like move in and out of public situations, but it won't change the requirement for a mask in some place situations. um, and it may be protecting myself, but at the same time, there is, like you said, I'm glad that you point that out, just like this barrier of trauma. And it's really hard to forget what about what has happened, you know, as far as facts go. And, it doesn't have to be a reaction today. It doesn't have to be a reaction in 3 weeks from it doesn't have to be a reaction 3 months from when you get the second dose. Could be, some implementation or reaction 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. And again, that's trauma where, like, I've seen received vaccinations for travel before, and didn't give them a second thought. Also, there's some merit to time of use, how long they've been in operation and in service for people. And for me, it's like, okay, I know this has been around. I know people pay for it. I know people have to get it. I know people get yellow fever vaccinations, before they travel to certain, African countries. And that's just what it is, right? That's a fact of life. It's what folks got to do. And if I got to get this vaccination just so I could go to the supermarket, I don't know. That's a little bit extra. Um, it's something that's not fatal to everybody. It's something that doesn't show up with symptoms for everybody. Um, and so, yeah, me waiting and getting more information while more people get vaccinated I feel is also a responsible way for me to operate. Um, in the same way, like me operating and living in my life, navigating with a mask on or two masks is responsible. I can live that way for a longer period of time, and let this hype die down. It's like pair of Jordans right now, and folks is excited, and people got they different hookups and different ways to go about getting what they need to get. And that's great, but I growing up, I never flocked to Jordans that way. Like, these days I'm a little bit more active on the shoe connoisseur hype, but that's because I'm paying my own taxes and not my mom not spending my mother's money. So there's that. But it's different growing up in the inner city, and having a little bit of understanding of how the government has treated people of color um, over the years, since people from Europe first arrived. They've been passing out disease. So it is an interesting place to be in right now. But again, if I was planning to travel and it would ensure my safety while traveling, you know it's it interests me in that regard.
No, I totally agree. I mean, it brings up something to mind that um, you know, thinking of how this might seem far out. People gonna be like, "Oh yeah, 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 whatever. You tripping? You crazy?" And I want you to feel like I'm crazy because what I want you to do is, as much as this doesn't apply to you, this applies to someone else, and I want you to keep that in mind. Think outside of yourself and think with a compassionate heart if you can. Right? If you can't think with a compassionate heart, well, then this cookie gonna crumble how it crumbles, right? Because Drake gonna get every million if it's chocolate chips. So in this situation, right? I remember Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? And this, I'm not saying I got an issue with Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? But Neil deGrasse Tyson appears as this public figure of science. He's a representation of science, right? People always say, trust the science, right? And I remember he was going on this campaign of talking about, there's no way there could be, or he didn't necessarily say there's no way, but doubter of having intelligent life outside of this planet, right? And it always sat wrong with me because to me the way I was taught about science is to have to question everything. That you can't rest on certainty, because science is literally the continuum of figuring out if you're wrong, right? Figuring out what is the truth, and so that means that we can't ever sit on something that is just finite, right? Because something else can be discovered and change our whole interpretation of what we're receiving as data from science, right? So Neil deGrasse Tyson going around, and I remember he was on the Colbert show, and it was talking about this thing and this object in space, and he was talking about, oh yeah, that's just an object, and Colbert was like throwing a pin in the air, right, showing how him throwing it up in the air, it reaches an arc, it comes back down, right, and the thing is that Neil was trying to say there's no way that this can be a spaceship or some type of object with any type of intelligence, right? And Colbert, as he's throwing the pin, pretty much shows, right, based off of what you see at the top is different than what you see at the bottom,
Right.
right? And I was like, yeah, right. And of course, Neil goes on his continuum of press and talking about, science and how there's not a high likelihood. Skip forward, all these videos come out from the government that pretty much legitimize the fact that, yeah, we are being visited by entities beyond our knowledge, and this is real, right? And now, of course, there's no hysteria around it. People aren't losing their minds. But the fact is, here you are as a representation of science, and you being one representation of science that I'm accustomed to, where it's that skepticism of, well, we know based off of what we know so far.
Right.
Well, I then have to look back at, like, okay, if I was to look at, there was a woman long ago who was experimented on, and her cells have been utilized in so many different ways to create the medicines and a lot of the different things that we use to this day, right?
Right.
But that came from this practice of this woman not knowing that she was being used in this capacity, that she would go on to be
That
used
part.
this way for a perpetual lifetime, right? Like, what claim does this woman have to her children having benefited from this, right? What her lineage, her family, right? But that's a part of the Tuskegee experiments, right? That's a part of, all these different things that are still coming to fruition. It's just recently, now it's not scientific, but it is man involved who are part of the government, like Malcolm X, right? They
Right.
disclosed that there was some information about the FBI being involved in the murder of Malcolm X, right? Which makes sense. It's not far in disbelief, but these all live within the same sphere of
Right.
reality that we as people of color have had to deal with. Is that just as much as you see a man with a knee on his neck, you're going to have a mother who's going to be prescribed pills she may otherwise not need if she was given a treatment plan to help her live a lifestyle that exposed her or had her in somewhere else, right? Because we go back to the food deserts, everything's intertwined and connected. Nothing's living in isolation. And I find it hilarious how much they try to leverage black voices to convince black people, come on, it's cool, just get it done. And it's like, that's not addressing the trauma and the pain that we've all had to experience. Like for me, I come from a family where I've lost more than a fair share of family members, right? And a lot of it has to do with medical issues, but it also has to do with the environments they grew in and what they were exposed to, which was not by some like happenstance, right? It wasn't just out of pure nothingness. It was premeditated. This was something that was orchestrated. This was something that is representative of a national dilemma, right? That's not isolated to any one little anomaly. And now all of a sudden you want me to just be all hokey dory because let me get this straight. I said it before, I say it again. You have this thing, right? I'm not even gonna say it in scientific terms, I'm just gonna make it super plain. This thing that is killing people in exorbitant numbers from a country where traditionally black and brown people aren't the highest population, let alone have any type of population, right? And
Right.
it comes to a country where the kind of major population, right, is white people, right? But when we think of what communities that we've heard is impacted have been the more poor, right? Which
Right.
happens to be a reflection of black and brown communities, right? And yet every time I hear a white person talk about it, they talk about it with such jubilation, such celebration, such hype, such energy, right? When the chances and the likelihood based off of the numbers and the statistics, the science, the impact has been more severe to people who look like me than it has to
Right.
people who look like them, right? And it almost becomes this thing where some people try to position others to be in a position where they're like, so are you going to do it? I mean, you're doing it for the greater good. And it's like, and what has the greater good ever done for me? Right? I have to ask,
Right.
what has this society, especially this past year, really done to incorporate its thought process around who I am, my family, my lineage, and history? Ain't did
Right.
nothing, right? Now, of
Nope.
course, I'm speaking in broken truths, but it's truths, right? I'm speaking with broken facts, but these facts is real, right?
Yeah.
Look in, you look deep, right? And you start to realize there's a lot here, right? There's a lot that we have to unpack. And I know it's like, oh, we want to get back to what we do, right? I'm looking at a name right now, J. Marion Sims, right? We're going back to the 1800s, right? An American physician in the field of surgery, known as the father of modern gynecology, right? And when I look, it says perfected his surgical techniques by operating without anesthesia on enslaved black women, right? That's our history, right? When we talk about not that many episodes ago of people in cages, right? And the women who are now being pretty much dealt the same, right? There's women who have been reported of being forced into surgeries, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now we're sitting here and we're like, yeah, and this same system, this same world with these people, we now need to just have faith and trust in this shot that you're gonna put in my arm. Where we ain't even, I mean, where is the approval at on the FDA? Where's the emergency expedition process of like giving us the checks and balances of assurance, right?
Right.
Everything need to be verified by somebody until we get to a pandemic. And it's like I get it. There are circumstances that are going to be, the exceptions, and that's real. But it ain't just turn on, turn off. It ain't black and white. You know what I'm saying? And when we do get to the black and white, we start realizing it's really different, right? Killer Mike said it best, first and worst, right? It's going to affect my people first and worse. And that's the thing that I'm seeing right now is like, it's trauma that I need to work through that y'all ain't gonna help me with, right? When it was hot, like back in May, when it was like irrelevant and y'all didn't have nothing to distract yourselves with, oh, y'all was
Mm.
all behind me and had my back. Now it's like, oh well, the sun shine a little different. And we talked about it, we had a conversation. So now that's okay, right? Because we confronted it. No, we ain't confront nothing. We ain't changed nothing. We getting back to the same old, right? We just making sure that when the Black History Month come, our marketing hit a little bit harder, right? When it's International Women's History, our marketing hits a little harder because we want to check our boxes. We want to make sure everyone's represented. But are you really being authentic in this representation? Are you really being thoughtful? And when it comes to this vaccine right now, it's tough. It's tough to take into consideration. So, that's just kind of where I'm at with it. Is really
Right.
processing how do I want this to go for myself, right? I want to be mindful of the future. I want to be respectful of others. I'm in a position where I have choice and I have autonomy to do or do not. And at some point, maybe I'm confronted with it, maybe I'm not, but I want more information. I want more to be comfortable. I want more
Right.
to see more because I feel like they making up the rules as they go. They're like, hey, we ain't really, we knew
Well,
people.
that's science, right? Science is the scientific method, right? It's based on, right? It's all subjective, right? And
Someone got to
you
be.
can only you can only say it's a fact, right, through a consensus, right? Then you can only say it works through a consensus, right?
Yep.
It's like multiple trials, and then on top of that, right, anything that's happening in science is based on the environment, unless you're in a vacuum. And so, what works for people and their behavior in public, right, is different from their behavior when they think nobody's watching, right? So even when it comes to science, getting information about this, like what and people look at the samples that you gather and everything is involved. And when we say something works, right, the environment is they're talking about is the regularly healthy human body within that body in that subject, right? Those subjects, we've been fine, and the vaccines have been effective. And why not encourage? Like, why would it be a problem then to continue the observation and within the scientific method? Just let's find out what happens in the summer, right, when people really want to be around each other,
Oh yeah.
and then you got no reason to keep them home because there's no shelter in place and most people got the vaccine, right?
Yeah.
People got the vaccine, right? What happens to the person who is traveling or somewhere and transmits, and it ends up on someone's hat, um, and I don't know, it's just really weird that you know things could change all of a sudden, and we could go backwards, 3 months down the line, 3 4 months down the line, if things open up and people are some people are vaccinated and others are not, and people have been carrying. Like, when will we start? Need to not take the test anymore? You know, when will they dissolve those? When will things open back up? It's like, when things open back up, how we go? Like, what systems? What is they making it up as they go along? What systems are they going to put in place to keep track of this exposure when people are saying it? It's a cold for me, right? It's just a fever for me. It's just pneumonia for me, right? Like they were doing in December and January.
Uh huh.
Like, I don't see anything that's stopping a repeat necessarily right now. Because it's based on like people's exposures, how many new cases they get in, and then how fast, how quickly counties are opening back up again.
Yeah. I mean, I want to say, the woman that I was speaking about that was experimented on, it was
Yeah,
the
yeah.
HeLa cell line, right? The cancer cells were the source of the HeLa cell line. It's an immortalized human cell line. It's one of the most important cell lines in medical research. Henrietta Lacks was her name. Henrietta Lacks, a black woman, right? Experimented on. Her cells were now still being used to this day, right? And I was looking up some stuff, and I see, like, medical apartheid, the dark history of medical experimentation on Black Americans from colonial times to the present, right?
Right.
And this book is by Harriet A. Washington, but this goes into saying and describing why we have these mindsets that we do, right? Like, we often go to the Tuskegee, but, like, I mean, you could look at any variation of this experiment called this democracy and see, right? Like, people often say, "Oh, slavery was abolished." No, slavery was modified, right? Slavery was modified to be held under certain circumstances, right? And that's kind of how it's gone on. It's like we think things are different because it's in a document somewhere that we changed it. But what did we change it to? We changed it to a modified version of what it formerly was. And
Right.
here we are in the scientific world looking at this pandemic. And yeah, you could argue, oh, well, that's because predominantly diverse and ethnic communities live in these metropolitan areas. And oftentimes they live in these metropolitan areas due to the systemic approach to the economy, to housing, right? To all of these different things where there wasn't a chance or opportunity for them to expand beyond that, right? So again, it doesn't really turn away from it coming back to how much of this was planned versus how much of this was just, oh, well, this is by chance, right? Because when you plan on things being a certain way and then the data
Right.
correlates to that plan, even if it's at random, even if it's by chance, it's no longer by chance and at random if you haven't addressed those different disparaging disparities, right? Like those different gaps, right? Societal kind of pitfalls, right? You haven't addressed that. You just say, oh, no, it's fine because you could figure it out, right? It's not for us to figure it out. It's us until it really is just me. And it's like, all right, here we go. And then it's like, we're just going to give you some money. Which brings me to, kind of the next subject in hand where it's like they just announced this 1.9 for the COVID-19 trillion dollars, right? That is going to be going out to people, businesses, both small and large, to local governments, to the medical field, right? And it's the thing where it's been a long time coming, and I'm really interested to see how this is going to be carried out and how this is going to be sustained. Because yeah, even though things are like people are like, I'm looking all the time and seeing gatherings and people connecting and partying together, and ain't no mask. Ain't no telling how. Like, was this a vaccine party or was this like a hey, we gonna just do it because we can, right? We already seen states release the lift off the kind of barrier of wearing masks. I mean, just recently we seen our wonderful city be featured on national news coverage for some individuals sitting in a car not wearing masks and trying to get a ride share, move like, hey, we're going to go.
Basically.
And then they're like, oh, we don't want to be left in the hood. And, that left open, that open. I was like, wait, I know that sandwich shop. I know that gas station. I know where that's at. There's one time I can recall it was really the hood. And that's because it was a riot, but that was beyond that. That was one time. Not it hasn't really been that way since, right? And I'm looking at this as like, it's a good move, but
Right.
hopefully this is something that we could find a way to create some sustainability and opportunity out of it, right? Because I know that once it's gone, it's gone. And, there's people hurting right now. There's people who haven't had the chance to work, who can't work, who their jobs are depending on things getting back to some level of normalcy, right? Pre, you know, 2020, right? And it's like now here we are, we are dependent on so many different systems. We're relying on others' timelines, like they ain't rushing, right? But now it's here, and now there's some movement and some conversation. And so, you know, I'm just looking at it as like, you know, thankfully, but also how do we make this work, right? Thankfully it's here, but what are we doing, right? And I think that's the thing that I'm looking to now is like how much of this new administration is really just the older administration setting us up to go back to the administration we loathe the most, right? Like Don Teasy, he sent out a message today so people won't forget his involvement in the kind of American scientific experiment called this democracy. But, you know, he got in there because there was this sense of disengagement, disenchantment with Americans feeling like they aren't being represented or heard. And me, I consider myself, I come from San Francisco. I consider myself very forward thinking and liberal. But I'm looking at it like, come on, bruh, what you really doing? Is you really, are you our president, or are you just going back to what you think you're supposed to do, right? We gonna blow stuff up and I'm gonna get
Right.
around to these bills when I ain't got nothing else going on, right? When things calm down on my end, I'm gonna come and sign off and get you that money.
Right.
For how long? Well, we'll keep that up in the air, but you gonna get some money, and it's like, ah, man, I'm looking for change, real change. I don't know. What you think? What do you think about
Mm.
this? People getting this money right now, right? It's needed, but I always feel
It's
like
needed. It's needed at different levels, though.
yeah,
Right. It's like the thresholds for what people are going to be awarded. Based on how much they make under $100,000 a year, is ridiculous. Because if you was making that much, right, and your cost of living, right, is based on you making that much, then you lose that ability to work and make that money, or you make it a fraction of that, right? Then you're not making as much money as you used to. Like that one-time payment of 1,400 is not going to save you for the months ahead, where you still can't work as much as normal, and your lifestyle is still based on what feel you're qualified to make. Is like people receiving is like it's gonna be great relief for some people, and then it's gonna not be much of a help to others. And I'm really really grateful that the businesses that were able to stick around, and stay open, because they tempered their expectations, and stopped hiring employees right away, furlough people right away, and they were able to make it to this next opportunity, to receive a loan and receive some support. Like some of those companies, I'm happy they're still around. Other companies, I hope that even though they lost their brick and mortar storefront, I hope they, have paid for their, business license, and they pay for their things, and they can still receive a, hope they still receive a loan. If they didn't, especially if they were limited on receiving one the previous year, because I know that happened to a lot of small businesses as well. Um, but yeah, but like if folks getting money, that's great, but for sure it's not being used to, um, it's most effective way in some situations. Sometimes it's just going towards what's urgent. People are triaging and saying, this is what's important right now, right? This credit card bill, or this car note, or this car insurance is going to allow me to keep driving my car so that I could make it to 5 hours of work a week, you know, six, maybe 15 hours of work a week, versus my 40, right? Like sometimes some people have been taken off salary. It's like it's all types of wild stuff going on. And, we do what you can to kind of balance things out and say, this is, what I'm going to receive from the government, and, how much is it going to help me?
I mean, from a quick breakdown, right? 1.9 closer to the breakdown of what I see. I'm looking at NPR right now, and it says 560 to individuals, 560 billion, which is nearly a quarter, right? A little over a quarter, and then 500 billion to big corporations, right? And then it's a breakdown beyond that to all these other entities: small business, state, local governments, public health, education, right?
Right.
And when I look at that one quarter going to big corporations, I'm like, um, when we ask them for something, right, to give into the government, it's always like, "Well, no, we shouldn't have to." And now we gon' we what? Huh? I mean, I get it; it's a part of the package, but whenever we quick to be like, "Hey, shouldn't Jeff Bezos?" Then we're like, "No, that's not what America's about. That's not what the capitalistic, integrity of the fabric of our society is based on. We don't do that." And then as soon as it's like, "Oh, somebody need their nose wiped a little bit. Let's go give them some Kleenex." How much Kleenex? Oh, we just gonna give them a whole like 200 different trucks loads of Kleenex. Like, wait, what? How many noses? 6 people. Oh, okay. Because I mean, I can't help but look at it from that lens when I think of corporations.
For sure.
created in a pyramid structure, right? There's somebody at the top and then everybody else who falls underneath to keep it up, right? And if the one who's at the top gets the most, right? And then as it trickles down, it dwindles in terms of its significance and value as we get to the bottom, right? Now, it's, it's there's so much to read into, but that's the thing that I look at is like, okay, when you got a quarter going to the people, and maybe it's missed on me, but I feel like the people have been so vocal, right? When it comes to voting, when it comes to this past election that we just had, this new administration we have, when it comes to who we have in kind of Congress and the Senate, like we've been vocal. Yet, as much as we push for this, hey, let the corporations, as much as we've tried to ask them for help, they ain't never bailed us out when it was good, when it was great, when it was golden, right? And of course,
Yeah,
I know this doesn't cover everyone who's been winning. A lot of people had their fair share of losses. There are industries that are really hurting, and I'm sure a lot of the big corporations within that. But even when it was good, what safeguard did you give to this day when it was bad, right? It's all
right. And now, right, and like, but it's even like if it doesn't speak to like everyone, right, who's, you know, striving, it still speaks to the silence, right, of this bill going through and being passed, and it being somewhat celebrated, instead of vilified, saying this is still not what we want, right? This is still not what we asking for, and right, this is still unsatisfactory, right? So people are so tired though, that they're so tired that all they can do is hope,
yeah,
right? They so fatigued from the events of last year and the protesting and the screaming and the hollering and organizing and mobilizing. They're so tired from you know trying to make it work, from homeschooling and working, and and trying to have lunch with the kids, and trying to get snacks for the kids, and they got multiple kids, trying to keep the kids out of the Zoom call, and so many different things. Folks are just tired, and too tired to say, you know congressperson, like, this is still unsatisfactory, like it was when they wanted to give us 1,200. It was when they wanted to give us 600. It's still unsatisfactory. It's still like work to be done, and y'all can't rest on y'all laurels and say, right, yeah, we did a good job. Folks is too tired to say that now. So all I can do is hope that it'll work out. It'll work itself out. Right. Part of the reason why we got this far in the last, um, package that was introduced and shot down was because people have been vocal and saying we need more than this. And you have, people talking to their representatives in Congress saying, this is not what my people need. My people need something different. My people need more. The folks behind me, folks that elected me, represent me, right, need more from us. And right, everybody's tired. And that's the thing that trips me out. It's like, because we run out of steam, you know maybe people will listen, but people are so tired now that they don't want to share. And folks are still, who are willing to listen, need to listen to some of these inner cities and these rural places and say, right, do y'all still need help? Right, do y'all, is there still injustice, right, in y'all neighborhood, in y'all city, in y'all state, in y'all county, you know neighborhood, city, county, state, feel me, region. But it's like, are we still having our ear to the ground to see, you know, the tragedies that are happening? Are we still banding together to speak, toward justice as a community? That's the thing about these national months of celebration of a group of people, or these international days where folks get celebrated, and you wake up and say, oh, happy international this, or happy month of this, like, are we celebrating that we still got so much far away to go? Is that what the celebration is? That we, come this far and we still need to announce that there's a first woman doing this. We still need to announce that there's a first black person doing this. Like it shouldn't even be news. So like when we celebrate and honor people like Black History Month, and we want to say, well, now the black first time this month that black, this year, 2021, right? We want to honor the first black person to do. Why is it still what y'all been doing the whole for the last 100 years? Y'all still keeping people out, even if y'all celebrating this, these trailblazers, these pioneers. It's like the people that's come first and they say, well, they won't be the last. But they try to spread things out pretty far and but few in between. When they give one person an opportunity, they might the 49ers might not, hire another quarterback of color for a while. They don't want to be on that radar again.
Sure don't. But then again, maybe they will, but I ain't. But I ain't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy because it's like, you know, uh, I can't see now. Now you done open the door just by saying that. I think about how it's one of those very difficult things where I think about, is these celebrations a way to pacify me, right? Is this how much of this is
Right.
pacification, right? Like, and let's think about a pacifier. You give a baby a pacifier so that way they're comforted by the thought that they're thinking they're eating, right? And the actual reality, right? For those who have kids listening, you may should have them turn away for the next 15 seconds. But a child as a baby usually is drinking from the breast of their mother, which is a sign of not just nourishment, but it's a sign of comfort because you're spending time with the affection and the warmth of your mother, right? But
Right.
what do?
Exchange.
We give a pacifier, right? To preoccupy them and stop them from maybe crying, right? Stop them from
Yeah.
complaining, right? To hold them over, right? Until they
Right.
get what they need, which is maybe some affection or some food, right? They want some
Right.
attention, they want some time, or they want some nourishment, right?
Right.
And
So
so,
now, where are our needs not being met, and where are we being pacified to think we are getting those needs met?
because 28 days out of the month, right? We gonna give you your flowers and say, look at all you've created. Look at the stoplight. Look at the peanut
Look
butter.
what you did.
Look at what you've done. Look at how beautiful
Look
you.
look what God did.
And then
Look how
it's
amazing you are.
over. On to the next one. Who's up? Who's up? Who else feels slighted and doesn't feel seen? All right, we're gonna give you a month because we know
Mhm.
365. We run this.
While we're giving you this month, we're gonna pass some laws that put you in a worse situation than you were a month ago.
Tell me about it.
We gonna litigate and legislate some new things in. We're gonna legislate some new things in that's go put you in a if you're still behind on playing the game, we gonna we're gonna increase our lead a little bit more.
Just a little bit.
You know, we didn't allowed you to start playing, but now that you playing, some of y'all ain't ready to start. So like if you like, and the folks who playing the game and not teaching, right? You can say they slept, right, or they still sleeping, but at the same time, say, should we be trying to win at their game instead of playing something different altogether?
Mm-hmm.
Like where's the game that we can start and put ourselves ahead to begin with? And I
Where?
think, right, where we get our needs met, right? Then it starts with, that's the game you play is, right, meeting needs, right? So So then you got something like the Black Panther Party, right? Black Panther Party for the people,
Right.
right? Right. The People's Party, the Rainbow Coalition, where their focus was on meeting needs.
Yeah.
It's like, well, uh, if the Green Party was meeting needs, nobody would have been paying attention to Republicans and Democrats.
Yep.
Straight up. They would have gained traction and they would have never had to look back. Right? If Kanye West wanted to meet people's needs, he could have ran and never looked back.
True.
But instead, you had somebody come in with pacifiers for the Republican Party. Say, oh, well, y'all hate black people, then well, suck on this.
Pretty much.
Oh, y'all like that? Huh? Well, then you can have this one too. I got them in different colors. I got them in different flavors. You can have all this hate mongering, this fear mongering. Like, what's gonna turn you against the next person to where you can't see us pull this wool over your eyes again? Like, what's gonna pacify you? You know what? How about we got some more stuff to do before we get out of here? How about y'all come up to the Capitol? We got a few more things we need to do. We got a few more names. We go pardon a few names. We go not none of y'all though. We ain't gonna pardon none of y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all gonna still go to trial. Y'all gonna go to trial. I ain't gonna have none of y'all names on this list. But
I'm gonna tell you what to do though. This is what I
but
want.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna be there. Y'all come through, and then when I'm done talking, y'all can come inside. Right? They got a meeting going on, but don't worry about what they doing. Right here, I got these pacifiers, these red, white, and blue pacifiers, right? They just like popsicles, with the red, white, and blue rocket things.
Uh-huh.
You, y'all have take what you need, and people feel like their needs is being met emotionally, through this, supportive, you know, alienating language. And say, well, if you upset, yeah, I'm upset too. Say, if you happy, right, then I'm happy too. If you think what you believe is right, then I think it's right too. And meanwhile, your mama, your auntie, your cousins, your grandma, your granddaddy is gonna pass away from COVID-19 because you thought your needs was being met, and really we wasn't feeding you at all. But like if we come in and say, well, we gonna raise money to meet people's needs, it's like if we don't call ourselves a party, then we don't necessarily pose as a threat. But at the same time, we need to we need to spark the conversation. It's like maybe we don't win. Maybe somebody come through and do it better than us, right? Or come through and support us. Like we don't need to win. We need to continue to put them on notice that our needs need to be met, and we done with pacifiers, right? And so you got a sports team, you got another sports team, you got another sports team in one city. Why is that? Right? The more discrepancy, the more poverty, the more injustice, right? Meek Mill's in Philly, right? Chicago got two baseball teams, a football team, a basketball team, and a hockey team, and a soccer team. what do you need all this escapism for? Is it because the population is so big, or is it because so many people's needs are not being met? Right? It's like, okay, you got a baseball team and a football team and a basketball team. Okay, who's got all the money? Like who's got money to spend on this? Who's gonna flock to these sports, events more than anybody? Folks who need the escapism. Who gonna need the escapism? Folks who need the money. But why they gonna spend their money on tickets? Because they need the escapism, right? They need to find their identity in something, and they can't find their identity and have pride in how they provide for each other or their family, right? Or they can't have, in a community, because their community is dilapidated and neglected. So like I can't be proud of where I'm from. So let me be proud of this sports team, right? Because we could all get shirts made. We could all go and buy sports gear. And if the team win, then we winning. And if we winning, then we ain't losing. If we winning, then our needs is being met. Cold game.
Cold game. Colder than a game of people who try to sell you on the dream of trying to cut corners so you feel like you don't have to escape, but you just found another pathway for escapism, right? Like I was talking earlier about like how people will sell you on the idea that they got the answer to your problem without knowing what your problem is, right? Oftentimes you'll see them, right? They'll be stunting or
The
they'll.
monorail.
I'm just saying, like, you know what I'm saying? You don't get off wherever you thought you was getting off. You ain't getting off there. Now we gonna let you off, right? But it's something that I'm every day reminded of about you could refine your process where it may look easy, but what it really means is you've just had more time and experience with it than the average person. And it just comes across that way. But the level of effort and technique, the exertion is still there, right? It may be more refined, or maybe you've learned how to distribute that energy more precisely in a more effective manner. But at the end of the day, you still got to put in that work to get there, right? You can't just take someone else's skill set and think you can apply it to yourself and it's going to produce the same results in a fast amount of time. There's going to be moments where it's going to be hard. There's going to be moments where it's going to be tough. And you have to pay attention to that because it's so easy with this world that we live in, right? We are so consumed with a screen. You look down and you see something that catches your attention and you're like, I want that. And it's like, but what do you really want? Like, are you really asking yourself what you want, right? We live in a world right now, everything's changed, of course. We know how bad it can get, maybe looking like it's going on the upswing, but we can end up right back here. We can end up in the same position and it be worse or it be, extended, right? We just don't know, right? And it's like, what are you doing to take care of you when somebody comes and tells you, oh, I got the answer to your problems, right? Like, come with me, right? And 9 times out of 10, you two are the answer to each other's problems. But if they don't tell you that and they're not upfront about it, right? You have the disadvantage, right? Because what I'm
Yeah,
really getting at is people who take people who are vulnerable and exploit them at this moment of vulnerability.
yeah,
People get exploited and then they get left out, right? Like you got a stimulus check coming, bruh, I got the best move for you. Come, let me hold that. I'm gonna double it for you, right?
man, that's real.
Hey, come run that with me one time. Hey, I'm gonna bust this move. It's gonna be smooth. And then you lose out and then you left out, right? Nah, it ain't gonna be me till it's you, cause we the sun gonna get you. Like whether you want it or not, the sun gonna get you, right? You could be wherever you want to be. All you need is a minute and the sun gonna get you, right? That air you breathing, we sharing that. It ain't me. Yeah, you say that. The air quality might be different, but somehow, some way, it's gonna find its way to you. And that's how these situations go, right? I'm saying it from experience. I'm saying it from having witnessed people go through it. I'm saying it because I may have went through it, right? Like I can remember the time somebody done told me, "Oh yeah, I got you." And then I'll lose out, right? Now,
Mm,
whether or not I had it changed my difference in reaction, right? My acceptance of the risk and the loss changes depending on how comfortable I am with myself. But that's the thing, right? We looking at it with the stock market. We're looking at it with all these different things where it's like, let me bust this move,
right,
and you end up busted, right? You end up getting caught up. You end up being in left with the bill, and it's just I just I just seen somebody who was living a lifestyle, selling a dream, and I did some investigation and I found out that everything they were using to legitimize themselves was really them legitimizing themselves. It wasn't because they had validation from somebody who was giving them scrutiny, right? It's one thing when you're scrutinized and you're able to be resilient in spite of it and present facts. Like somebody comes in and like, oh yeah, well what you do, right? And some people might think it's unnecessary, but I think it's necessary to have a level of training or certification to know like, oh, you have the basics down, right? You have a fundamental foundation that I can refer to, because then I
right.
can go and access that same foundation and know whether or not through my own experience is it work, right? Does it work for me, right? And usually when something's certified, it works because it's been certified. It's gone through a process of scrutiny, right? But this person scrutinized themselves, put it out as though somebody else was scrutinizing them, and then you look at what it is that they've built their life on, and you realize there's a lot more questions than there are clear answers. And then it's like, man, like how easy it is in a moment of vulnerability. Because me, I'm just entertaining it because I'm like, well, maybe they might be onto something. Maybe they have some information. And as soon as I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take them up on their offer. But first, I'm gonna do some research. I'm gonna investigate. And I investigate. I uncover the truth, and I'm like, oh, this dude, man, dude,
Shiesty.
you do what you do, right? Because I'm not gonna sit up here and try and hate on you getting yours. It's unfortunate, but I understand how this game goes, right? People willing to do anything to maintain their position and they spot. But I'm
When
just
that's the thing, right? Because like if they are willing to do anything, you calling them out means they go still can do anything to maintain their spot and try to silence you or delegitimize you.
exactly.
And like it's just a matter of do you want do you have the energy to battle with that, or do you have your situation lined up to where you can take that heat, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's like that's why Justin Timberlake come through and apologize now, right? He can admit that he was wrong now, right? Like he say, "Oh, I can apologize to Brittany, I was wrong, right? I can apologize to Janet, I was wrong." But when I didn't have my things lined up, I had to be quiet. Management said I don't say nothing. Say it was can't say it was my fault. Can say it's shouldn't have done that. Can say y'all shouldn't be on her like that. Some I was a part of this too. Can't say none of that. Management said I had to be quiet because I
Mhm.
didn't have my ducks lined up. I couldn't let them come after me. Right? They got to go after these women. They could go after these women. But that's also like you talking about like folks in industry all over the place, right? Fitness industry, they doing that left and right, right? You talk about that moment of vulnerability, right? Man, it's like, man, I feel slow sluggish. I feel like overweight. I don't love myself right now. I need a coach. I need somebody telling me what to do. This person here, look at how I want to look. And I know I want to look like that because I see they likes. And I want people to like me like they likes. I want people to say, "Oh man, you look." I'm reading their comments, and they say, "Oh man, you really look great." And so you getting so much attention. It's like, well, I don't get attention like that because I don't feel good about myself, and I don't feel good about myself because of how I look, and I don't like how I look because people tell me they don't like how I look. So because they tell me that I need a change. Well, this person looking right, and what they doing, they looking like they know the answer. They like they know the way. Right? And if I could look like them, then I could be happy because that's what I'm looking for is just happiness. But I know what's gonna give me happiness, how I look. man, I lost all this weight. I look good. Damn, like still single. Maybe I maybe I need something else. Let me see. Let me who's a psychiatrist on online? Let me get some of this IG therapy. They got the self help things that I need. Let me follow them and click on some advertising. What they telling me I need? Oh, they said I need a face mask and a serum, and I need some self care, and I need a bath, and I need some candles, and I I need all this stuff. Oh, I need to get their book. I always thought about starting out my own business. Do I need is that what I need? Is that I need that? Then I'll be happy, right? Because then I be looking after myself, and I got a new job because I needed a different job because I didn't like my job because they didn't like me, but they didn't like me because I wasn't liking me. So the way I showed up in my job is making sure people didn't like me, and so I needed a new job anyway. So I needed to change a career. I needed to quit my job and do something different. Well, I've been doing this job that I found through this self help book. They say, well, I needed to, be a coach too, and and sell this, sell these products, and do this stuff. And now I don't leave the house. I think I'm lonelier than ever. But we got these conference calls that we have every few weeks, and I get to see everybody that I work with, but I don't see them no other time. But I get to see when I see them, it's exciting. They got activities, and we do these games, and we do all this stuff, and everybody talk about how much money they making, and it's great. And I'm paying, and I got bills, and I'm paying them, and I got the most expensive phone, and I'm paying a bill on that, and I'm spending all this time being an influencer, and it's great, and I'm helping people the same way I got helped, and I'm still feeling lonely. Feel like I got nobody in my corner. This is a really nice pacifier. I'm I'm getting my needs met for sure. All thanks to somebody telling me they had the answers. Created a lot of problems on the way. Lost my job. Started talking to my friends because they was trying to tell me I was doing something wrong, and I was doing something that was not sustainable, and it wasn't stable for me, and had to move away from my apartment that I really liked, and I had cool neighbors, and like, yeah, my abs look great, but it's a cold game. The
Okay.
game is the game.
Yeah, I mean, people don't think of companionship, right? They think of how good do I look to somebody else, right? But it's really companionship you're looking for. You're seeking companionship, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Call it out. But know what it is that you want, right? Is it that you want an ideal that has been that prefabricated, premeditated to you, that was sold to you, or are you really in the mindset of I want something that is like authentic to who I am, that is reciprocal of what I have to bring, right? And it's like society often dictates these different cookie cutter notions of what things are, when in reality it's work, it's work, it's work. It ain't about how easy it's gonna be. It's about how much are you at peace with this decision you're making, with this choice you're making, right? And it's hard for people. I get it, right? Society hasn't been fair on any standard to us understanding that. Like, what is it? What am I really looking for, right? It's more like, oh, let me go get it because I need to have it. So now I got it, but now that I have it so much, I don't even want it no more, right? And it's like you gotta have a sense of grounding and in a basis of who you are and a sense of self to be fearless in loving yourself and being fearless in being happy, right? Oftentimes people would want to denounce and denote and dismiss, minimize who you are. Like, no, 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 I'm happy, right? Or you think you better than everybody. No, I just think I'm better than I was yesterday, right? Big difference, right? I'm not sitting there I'm looking at the possibilities of what everyone has to offer, but what I do with it is for me, right? It ain't about nobody else. Can't you waste your time, Love those who
Yeah.
you can, but don't sit up there and be awesome. Oh, okay, I get it. That's who you really is. No, that's who I've been. You just wanted me to be something else for you.
You know, people try to congratulate me or compliment me, say they're trying to be like me. Say I'm still trying to be better than me. What you want to be like me? Like the one you see is not who I'm about to stay. I'm not about to stay there. I
Like,
hope I don't. I hope I don't become this. I hope I don't become this. But it's wild though because for a lot of people, it's the misplacement um, of what makes them worthy, right? It's the misvaluing of what makes them worthy, right? It's like your financial ability, stability don't make you a worthy partner, a worthy companion, right? Your ability to have, you know, children don't make you a worthy companion, right? Like whether you loyal to somebody is a start,
yeah,
but are you loyal to yourself first? If you can't really be loyal to yourself, you may not be able to be loyal to the person next to you.
loyal to yourself, faithful to yourself.
Like if you think getting a bag makes you worthy, once you got that bag and somebody dump you, who are you then?
Or when you got that bag and you can't eat, right?
Mhm.
Right?
Or you got that bag and you can't listen to somebody's problems.
True.
Or you can't, or you get that bag and you can't tell somebody what you need
True.
because you never knew what you needed. You never took the time to figure out your needs or how to communicate them or how to listen to somebody else's needs. But they tell the men, you got to be able to provide for a wife. You got to be able to provide for your partner. That's gonna make you a worthy companion. Say you gotta listen. Tell the women you got to be able to have kids and do this domestic things and follow the lead. That's gonna make you worthy. You gonna have to be able to get somebody and keep them, and that's gonna make you worthy. And that ain't got nothing to do with it. And people build all the wrong skills trying to be worthy for somebody and put all the value on all the wrong things trying to be worthy. They say, look, I can't even, they push people away thinking they're not worthy. Focus on the wrong thing. Say, well, I'm not right yet. Well, I got to get this right. Or I got to get this person. Then I'll be right. Then I'll be good. Right. It's like me having this person, somebody who loved me, this person treat me right. So then I'm going to be good. Well, if that person don't know what they want, don't what they need, they may not even be sure they want you. They might be gone tomorrow because they never told you what they needed. And so they've been sitting there mad at themselves and resenting themselves because they never told you what they needed. And it be like that sometimes. But all I do is harm the next person and say, well, I don't nobody want me. Folks keep leaving because I I didn't give them what they needed. Well, is it this? Is it this? Because the person on the influencer on the internet who look like this different from me, who dress like this different from me, who smile and do these things for their partner different from me, who like these things and accept these things different from me. They do this and they life look good on the internet. They look happy and they smile for the pictures on the internet. Maybe I need to be like them. Maybe I don't need to be so picky. Maybe don't need to have my standards for what I need. Maybe they don't need to, my needs need to be different. So if I change my needs to fit what somebody's capable of, then I'm gonna never have my needs met. What? Cold game.
Cold game. I mean, not as cold as I pivot from people not being able to
Give
identify.
give him the Euro step.
Let him, yeah, Euro step, just hard step, doom, 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 doom. Yeah, I'm just gonna bust a move. But it's a thing where on that end, right? It's about what do you value? How do you value yourself, right? We done been through the gamut of all right, all these different subjects, but it really comes down to you. It comes down to what you want for you, and you got to be in tune with not only who you are, but what's happening in the universe around you, because there's a lot of changes. There's just a lot of changes. We went through a change. We're experiencing
Changes.
changes, but now it's going from that, thinking about like NFTs, right? NFTs, right? We talked a little bit about it last week. I don't know if it was we on air talking about it. I think we was off air talking about it the most, right? We just kind of briefly
Yeah.
glossed over it if we did, but to kind of just bring it up, right? Non-fungible tokens, right? And me going back to the idea of verification, right? Because you had brought it up saying like, just because you had a kid don't mean that you verified to have a kid, right? Like having one is different than raising one, right? And there is no certification for that. There's no certification for a lot of things. We can witness and see. We can take our experiences as a way to filter out like, oh, this makes sense. That don't resonate, right? And with the NFTs, what it is doing now is we move into this digital only space. I don't know. I made it at a point to go and get me some dollars. So like, I'm going to the ATM. I'm gonna get some dollars because we run out of cash. I don't know if people was tripping off that. There was a period of time when you couldn't get cash. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna get me some cash. And we're moving into a very electronic only world, right? Like everything's getting more and more digitized, where it's centralized. It's all like to take it to the most basic, everything that you do more or less is on your phone. You can bank on your phone, communicate on your phone, send letters on your phone, you can sign on your phone, you can do all these different things, take videos, make movies, whatever the case may be. The phone is your symbiotic partner. You are a cyborg because you get that itch like, did something just vibrate, right? Did something just, was that just the phone? No, it wasn't, right? Now I get the ghost text, right? Or just the ghost text in terms of I text and nobody hit me back. Okay, I see what's up, right? There's all these layers now with that. And NFT is like to me, an extension of Bitcoin, right? Where a Bitcoin, for those that don't, cryptocurrency, a very butcheredized variation and definition, is it is an encrypted form of currency, which means that it's not something you could just duplicate, right? It's just that one particular thing has an encryption that's associated with it that holds its value because it's just a one unique thing. Now, when you think of Bitcoin, right, it's like, oh, people have Bitcoins. What does that mean? They have this digitized thing, right? This digitized currency, right? Where one of them is held up to a dollar value because people use money to add value to it, right? And an NFT now is that for like taking digital media. So a picture,
Right.
a song, a movie that you can download. This is all now can be verified through encryption to say there's only one variation that is actually a certified version of it from the source. If I was to make some music, right, and I was to put it up on the internet, I could say that there is one direct copy from me of whatever quality that is from me to you, right? And now I can sell it to say it's been verified because they call it like you can mint an NFT, right? Which really means like if you think of a mint, you take the metal, the precious metal, and then you turn it into the actual US currency or coin or, currency of your country of origin, whatever. But that's the same thing with this. I take something I made, I get it certified. Now I can sell it on the market. And the difference is if I made an album and I sold it in stores and there was only 100 copies, that's it. Once I made my money back from them 100 copies, I don't see another dollar again unless it's on the streaming platform, right? Like everybody likes vinyl again. I want to get some vinyl. So you buy the vinyl and then I get paid for that one time sale. I don't get nothing else. You go to Goodwill and find my vinyl. I don't get nothing from that.
Right.
Whereas the NFT, I can designate a percentage of that sale for perpetuity, right? For a perpetual lifetime. I can say every time this resells, I get 10% of whatever the cost is, whether the price goes up or the price goes down, right? And now you're seeing people make money two ways, right? One on art, that's literally digital only art, which means like there's no other form of it. It's a file. You are paying for a one of one file. That don't mean you can't copy it over, right? Like, oh, I see the image, right? And I'm gonna make a copy of it. But that's, in comparison, right? There's only one Pablo Picasso, but there's many copies, right? There's many variations of Van Gogh's Starry Night, right? But there's only one original, right? And the original holds value because it's been certified. Somebody's actually looked over and said, "This is Van Gogh. This is the paint that Van Gogh used." Versus me going to Target and being like, "Oh, I like the Starry Night Van Gogh painting. That's just a print." I take that home. It's only like $5, $10, right? And so it's the same thing now, but you could do it with anything. Like the rules is there is no real rules. You if you can find a way to digitize it, it can be an actual collector's item, right? And like we were talking about how Grimes, um, the artist, the singer, who also just so happens to have a baby with Elon Musk, the supporter of Dogecoin, right? He's not really known for much else these days, but he is a supporter of a cryptocurrency called Dogecoin. And he's been able to find success and she's been able to find success in her own right. And she recently was selling some of her merchandise and art online and was able to make an exorbitant amount of money. And so to me, it's like, the world we living in is turning into this digital only thing, right? Like we've seen with Dr. Seuss, there's books that are going to be discontinued. And I wouldn't be surprised if someone digitizes it and makes an NFT version of it that goes for an exuberant amount of money, right? Where it's like, oh, this book is no longer sold in stores, but you can buy one of the only copies that is like the original digitized version of it for this undisclosed amount of money, right? And I'm just thinking of how this opens the door for people to experiment with their own dream, right? Their own access point to do something for themselves where that was a thing for people like, oh, I don't want my music to come out before I'm ready to have it released because then I won't be able to get no money as soon as someone leaks it, right? And it's like, or you can say these 100 copies are the original 100 copies, right? And I can sell them, and then every time they resell, I receive some some change from that. I get something back. I get 10%, 6% back on every sale. And so I just think it's an amazing time to witness
Yeah.
how we went from physical, right? Physical money to like everybody's super on a debit card game. Like, it's not to shame or displace anybody in terms of they not having a bank account, but I mean, Cash App has definitely come in as that kind of like middle ground for people who don't have access to banking, but it's still digitized currency. It's still a digitized platform for money. And I'm just hyper mindful that like all this can be done from your phone. Your phone
Right.
is your phone opens doors, right? Your phone is everything, right? When you need something verified, they gonna hit you on your phone, like, oh,
Right.
is this really you? Put in the 6-digit
You
code.
can give right. You can give somebody crypto.
Yeah,
Right. You can send them crypto. They could turn it into current. They can spend it somewhere else. You could use. They can use that crypto to make purchases in certain spaces.
yeah,
In limited spaces right now. But you could operate in your life without using U.S. currency. To some extent right now, without having cash.
yeah.
Even when it comes to paying your rent, if you need to.
That's real. That guy I was talking about earlier, the child father of Grimes, Elon Musk. That guy, he went and invested a bunch of money
What?
into Bitcoin, right? And did it through his company, and you know, this company seems to be doing pretty all right for itself. Selling cars and whatnot, electric cars. But it goes to show
And
it shift.
batteries.
Yeah, batteries, right? The manufacturing of batteries, right? These high capacity, these batteries that are meant to repair a lot of the harm we've done with carbon and fossil fuels, right? So to me, I'm looking at it as like we living at a really crazy time, right? Like there's so much to be done, so much that can happen, so much we will be able to do, but even more so in this moment, what you can do for yourself now. Don't be surprised if one of these episodes end up being an NFT and it's the one of one version that goes for an exuberant amount of money because, we're only going to grow this, right? And as this grows, the value goes with it. So, get yours early because,
The first season, first year.
ooh, that would be dope. Like the first collection, the first year of Lyrical Ones, NFT,
Yeah.
the
Yep. Or
collection,
the first verse.
the first verse, give you the first 16 one time.
Yeah.
I mean, as you see, it evolves all the time. We see the power in in our ability to be able to connect with others and the importance of community. And lyrical ones is that space, right? We are as much lyrical ones as you are, right? We are connecting and communicating and trying to share this experience of life so we can benefit from our experiences and learn to progress and to make things whole and heal. Because a lot of what I'm coming from and a lot of what I'm talking about is us being able to repair that harm, being able to acknowledge and acceptance is one thing, but knowing how to let it pass, right? Maybe not let it go because it may come back around, but let it pass, right? And how do you go through that passing, that process, right? Because yeah, it's a crazy time to be alive. Like, have you seen anything on the NFT craze that like kind of caught your eye? That was like, wait, what? I could do that?
Nah. I mean, that like nothing too, nothing caught my eye. But like I have like autograph posters and stuff, right? Right. I got a few things at home that are one on ones. Um, whether it's whether it's clothing, right, or like even right the my glasses, right, are like one of 300 made, right. Um, but then I have friends because I have friends who are artists, right. I've been gifted things, right, that are one of one, right. They're unique, not mass produced, handmade, items. Um, I'm really ready to take every souvenir that I got from some country where the kids came up to me and sold me something and turn it into an NFT. This the seashell, the carved turtle from Jamaica, the little statue that they try to sell you before you leave the country, the the sombrero that they sell on the way back from Tijuana, the poncho, the the knitted backpack, like all that stuff. Um, but every time the Fillmore in San Francisco, every time they have a concert, right, they do a poster for that artist, right, that's only available that night, and everybody gets one on their way out. Um, I got a few of those that will be nice to have as NFTs for me, um, especially for some artists, right, who may not be around for long or may just be starting a tenure in the industry, you know. Um, so yeah, stuff like that. Um, wrestling posters, with some of the artists signed on there. You got to remember, you got to know who signed them to some degree. Maybe you don't.
People forget. You're like, who?
Yeah,
That Razor Ramon? I don't even know.
yeah. I mean, even like independent indie art, independent, you know, C class folks.
I mean that yeah, them really be special because it'd be like hidden gems of obscurity that people don't even realize till much later the importance or the significance of certain things, how it ties.
Yeah, yeah.
Like people get
like our
and don't realize it.
right, like our first album, Lyrical Opposition. That should definitely be one, but we'll we'll figure out some things to do, and that'll be cool. But I think it's most important that is, we're still in a time of creation, and it's just a digital time. And I think when we look at the parallels between, the 60s and 70s and now, we'll see that, if we call this, decade, you know, a parallel to the 1960s, you know, then we got some great things coming ahead of us, some change and some togetherness. But I think it starts with, people acknowledging and accepting and and not judging their own needs.
No, it's real. It's real.
Um, you watching Jujutsu Kaisen?
I'm not watching it yet. I am still limited to two. I know it's good. I've heard nothing but great things about it. People keep
Yeah. But right. So there's the fact is the writing is good too. Right. So Attack on Titan is talking about life. Jujutsu Kaisen is talking about death. Right. Both made by Mappa. Right. Jujutsu Kaisen, you're laughing the whole time, but it's about death. Attack on Titan, you're sad the whole time, but it's talking about life. Right. So like it's a great healing opportunity if you watch them together. It's just great balance. Because Jujutsu Kaisen, he came with a line the other day. It said, "We are all some combination, some ratio of our souls are some ratio of instinct and reason." Right? Solid. But it's not on anybody to judge anybody else's ratio, which is fire.
for real. Yeah,
Right?
man, I needed that because
Right? It's not on me to judge what ratio of instinct and reason your soul is.
yeah,
But if I can acknowledge in somebody that you holding back, right, by not accepting your reason or not accepting your instinct, right? You say you neglect your own instincts, right, and not acknowledge your true ratio, the true ratio of your soul, right? Or right, you neglect your reason, right, and not acknowledge your true ratio of your soul, right? It happens on both sides for everybody at times, for anybody,
it's real.
right? And so like it's important to venture into that acceptance, right? It's like, what have I adopted because of trauma? What have I adopted, right? As a sense of, because I wanted a sense of belonging, or like, just to avoid confrontation again because of trauma, right? If I'm trying to like coast or like, right, avoid something, right? Whether it's failure or disappointment or abandonment, like if I'm trying to avoid something just because I don't, right, just because of trauma, right, then I'm avoiding the true ratio of my soul, my spirit, because of that. That happens with trauma all the time. Right? It's like, I think this person is bad for me. Right? That's my instincts is telling me that. But if I'm not with this person, I'm gonna be alone. And so my reasoning He's gonna say, "Well, I'm not. I'm gonna choose to be with somebody, right, in this trash can instead of sleeping in my own bed." People be on that. It's like I'm gonna just get in the trash.
And it ain't even be like it ain't even because it's like they in the trash. It's really because they choose to be in that trash. They choosing to be in the trash, right? Some people ain't no
Yeah,
enjoy
it's
that.
reasoning.
Yeah.
It's reasoning, right? Reason, right? The reason is choice. Reasoning is choice, right? Say, oh well, this thing, but at least I'm by myself, right? My senses are telling me that this is wrong, right? My hearing, my smell, my taste, my touch, my sight, right? It's telling me that this is wrong. This is bad for me. This is harmful. This is dangerous. But I'm gonna get in this trash, right? Where it's not safe, but I'm gonna find comfort in what's harmful to me, right? Instead of right being uncomfortable in what's safe and beneficial for me, right? Instead of being cozy in the bed and like not happy with my situation, I'm gonna try to make the best of the situation in the trash, right? But it's not on me to judge the ratio, right, of instinct and reason, right? That's not my job, right? That's not any of our jobs, right? But it's on us to bring to attention, saying, right, are you like really listening to your reason? Are you really trusting your instincts? Because maybe your true ratio is more than this, is different than this. And where is the trauma that is keeping you from your true ratio, right? Where is the response, the fear response, the fight, flight, or freeze or stop, right? Where is your pause that's keeping you from your true ratio, right? As you approach your true ratio in any situation, where do you say, let me stop this instincts, ah, let me stop this reasoning, let me just not think about this no more. So again, Jujutsu Kaisen, produced by Mappa, it's hilarious, but I'm always fighting the gyms because we real MCs out here.
Lyrical ones.
Because we really do this.
No, you're right. You're right. Episode 40 of the Lyrical Ones podcast.
4-0.
40. We're coming back around. When we started, right? We're coming close. We're getting there. We're we're coming back around. When we started, now here we go again. We're gonna be one lap around the sun. It's,
Yes.
it's happening.
Yes.
I mean,
Anything else you got to say for the people on this non-live, you know, live recording? This
non-live.
live this
Uh,
this 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 non-live live recording.
everybody get your piece. That's all I can say. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Be present.
bars.
Be in the moment. Be thankful. Be forgiving to yourself. Right. Find a ways to appreciate if you can what you got or where you at. It's easy to get lost in it and be like, oh, but every I can't stress it, right? It's not about cutting corners. It's about figuring out what works for you and then going towards that. Go towards that because things are gonna happen, and your reaction, your ability to instinctually react or reason out what you will do makes a difference. And so yeah, just keep that in mind. How about you? What you got for the people?
I want to finish with a quote from the the poet, educator, photographer. Uh, got a poster on my wall. Kim DeValos poster says, "Nothing, nobody, nothing, nothing, nothing will ever get in the way of my peace."
Ain't that
Shout
the
out to KD. Cindy said, "Get your piece, piece of the pie, piece of mine, piece of what's yours, your own piece, your piece to share,
I mean,
your
I think
piece
I said it
to
last.
your piece to cherish, your piece to take care of, whatever it is, whatever your piece may be, get yours." Echo
Everybody
that. I echo that.
mine. I just want a piece of mine.
That's it.
So yeah,
Lyrical ones.
lyrical ones. And as we're gonna
Hello 4-0.
do this time, because I ain't forget about it. I mean, given that it ain't live, it ain't to say it's we break away from tradition. Got to do what we got to do.
Yeah, yeah, we gotta do it. One, 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 one.